time zone you are in. Welcome to Movies webinar. We will just wait for a few seconds as our participants, our attendees are still joining the webinar. Okay, so we can start now. Again, a very good morning, good evening. So my name is Richie Milan, and I will be your host for this insightful session today on content licensing landscape. Our webinar topic for today is Mastering Content Licensing Strategies for Platforms of All Sizes. Just for your information, this webinar is a joint collab between Muvi and its partner allrites, and we will have expert speakers from both sides. So it's going to be a very exciting and informative session. In this exclusive webinar, we will showcase efficient content acquisition strategies that are essential for streaming platforms to expand their libraries and to reach new audiences. In this webinar, we will also share key insights on today's content licensing environment, and we'll tell you ways how to secure high quality content affordably in a hassle-free manner and in a very defined licensing process. So let's move ahead. So before we get started with our co-presentations, I would like to give a quick introduction about Muvi. So established in 2010 and headquartered in US, Muvi was founded with a vision to disrupt the global streaming market. Muvi today offers a diverse range of streaming products, an entire ecosystem actually that caters to businesses of all sizes and types. So whether you are a small business or a large enterprise, our scalable and flexible streaming products can adapt to any streaming requirements as per your business goals. Okay, so we have a range of products from a comprehensive OTT platform to fast channels, from on-demand streaming to live streaming, from audio streaming to video streaming, and from deploying websites to applications for mobile and smart TV ecosystems. Movie has a solution for all your streaming needs that can be accomplished with just a few clicks without the need for any coding or technical knowledge. And that's the best thing about Movie. Okay, so going to some of our awards and recognitions, our flagship product, Movie One, has been rated as the #1 OTT platform on G2, which is a trusted software review platform. Additionally, our live streaming product, Movie Live, was honored as the best live streaming product by the readers of Streaming Media magazine. And recently, Movie has been named in Gartner's 2025 Market Guide for Video Services. Also, Movie is listed in the Frost and Sullivan report for the online video platform category, which is great indeed. So that was about Movie. Now let me introduce our in-house speaker, Aman Anand, who is handling partnerships manager at Muvi. So Aman is a strategic partnerships and alliances professional with a strong background in the software and streaming industry. As the partnerships manager at Movie.com, Aman is building a global reseller, service, and technology partner ecosystem to drive growth for the company and its customer. About our second speaker. So he's from allrites, Mr. Tyler Massey, who is heading global sales at allrites. So about allrites, so this is Asia's leading media marketplace to discover, buy, and sell films, TV series, and sports content rights. It's actually a breezing ecosystem that brings together content makers and content buyers under one platform, unlocking the true value of media content on a global scale. And our speaker, Tyler Massey, is an expert in content, sales, marketing, and distribution. He has played a key role in bringing major film and TV shows to audiences worldwide. Well, to name a few shows like Storage Hunters, Those About to Die, No Activity, and many such titles. Currently, at All Rights, Tyler is expanding the global partnership ecosystem and reshaping content licensing for businesses of all sizes. So, welcome to today's webinar, Tyler. The stage is all yours now. But before that, a small note to our audiences. You can keep asking questions using the Q&A box, and our experts will answer all your queries at the end of the presentation. So now our co-presentation will start. Over to you, Tyler. Thank you.
Thank you, Richie. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you for joining today. Before we start, I believe we're going to put up a poll for everybody. So please, once the poll is up, would love for everyone to weigh in. So of this, we know that content licensing is challenging. So which one of the following aspects of content licensing is your biggest challenge? Legal, budget, sourcing, and technical. While you guys are answering this, we'll give it a minute or so. Just wanted to fill you in a little bit more on my background. I've been in international licensing for the better part of 20 years. So working for studios and distribution companies, even having my own company, licensing the rights to finished content, formats, film library, you name it, and I've touched on it in some manner. At some point, and have sold content from all over the globe, all languages, etc. So excited to share with you a little bit of some of the learnings that I've achieved over the years. So we'll just give it a few more seconds. Okay. Of the 17 who've responded so far, it looks like legal is in the lead, not surprising. Budgetary, of course. Sourcing, actually finding the distributors, absolutely. That can be difficult. And technical, oh, good. Well, I guess that makes sense since you're all here via Muvi. So I would hope that you know where to find a good partner for the technical side. So that's good to see. So here's the results. Okay, let's jump in here. I'll just share my screen. Okay, the state of content licensing today. Let's dive in. The media war. We've all been reading about it for years, how the streaming industry is more competitive than ever, with major players battling for content supremacy. Platforms, as we know, must adapt to survive in this evolving landscape, and that's platforms of all sizes, the behemoths as well as those who are just starting up. You have to be flexible and nimble. As technology has evolved, the ability to launch new platforms has never been greater, with barriers to entry being far less. And this is exciting because now with streaming, the advent of streaming, it sort of democratizes, the ability to broadcast content or exhibit content. It's not just held in the hands of the big media conglomerates. All right, so just kind of taking a little bit of a step back to see where we are. We want to go back and see where we were. So as we know, linear TV has seen a steady decline over the last 20 years. It dominated for, up until about 2015, it was accounting for over 85% of the total viewing time for TV. And then in the last decade, there's been a drastic decline, which we anticipate that curve to continue, with linear TV dropping to approximately 44% of viewership overall, influenced, of course, by cord cutting and the rise of streaming platforms. So for those of you who are launching streaming platforms, it's a good time to get in. SVOD, and we'll get into exactly what SVOD is soon. rapid growth and market saturation. So, from 2010 to 2020, we saw major services, Netflix's, Hulu's, Amazon's, seeing exponential growth, capturing so many viewers and who were seeking on-demand sort of ad-free content. People were tired of seeing ads on cable, and so this whole idea of being able to watch what you wanted, when you wanted, and free of ads was a really exciting thing for the general public. In 2020, more recently, growth has finally plateaued, at least in the US, where the market has really found its saturation point. People are, you have to offer them something really unique and special if you're going to get them to pay for another account. And then also the introduction of ad-supported tiers has been recently very successful, which is funny because that just takes us back to the ad space that the market left when people started moving over to SVOD. But we do find these things to be very cyclical in nature in our industry. The TV and streaming viewership trends. Again, AVOD really emerged just about a decade ago. Pluto TV and some of the other Tubi, a few other players joined, and it was kind of a slow build. And then in the last 4 or 5 years in particular, it's really taken off. It turns out people like free content. And so it goes back to the old method of getting the ad world and the brands to support these business models through buying ads. Right now, it's at about 18% of total viewing time. The expectation is obviously that is going to increase dramatically over the years. Also, as part of that, are FAST channels, free advertising supported TV, which, it's free to the public. It's programmed like a linear broadcast channel. And a number of the platforms have those as options or even lead with those. Those they've been around, they've been huge. They are continuing to grow in popularity. And internationally, we're starting to see some territories get wind of it and start to embrace that as well. A little bit in UK, some in like Germany. Rest of world is a little slow in the uptake, but we expect them to get there. Okay, so here's some actual numbers. So some of the top platforms, their launch years, the subscribers in 2010, subscribers in 2020, and the estimated subscribers in 2025. And what you'll notice there is an obvious upward movement. I think we saw and you see the numbers there, 67 million in 2025 for Netflix after 2020 subs. That's estimated, although based on their earnings report the other day, that number is probably not accurate. It's probably going to be higher than that. And really what you're seeing is there is still growth. Paramount had a dramatic increase in the last 5 years. There is still growth, but it's sort of plateauing because there's only so many people in this country, but internationally, that's where their eyes are, and that's where companies like Netflix and Amazon are seeing real upside. Similarly in AVOD. So, the big names in AVOD are, of course, Tubi, Pluto, and then you've got Roku, who they're built on the back of their app, right? And so they started their actual hardware, and the app is on it. So it's pretty impressive that they're reaching 63 million users a month, and that's the model that they employ. Peacock, as we know, there's the free tier, which is the AVOD, but they also have their SVOD platform with more premium content. But they're still at 30 million for their free tier. And of course, the giant in the room that we haven't addressed is YouTube. And YouTube at 240 million monthly users in the US alone, no one comes close to them. They're used in so many different ways, but it's easy for us to forget when we're talking about AVOD platforms that they actually are one. They're just on a whole nother level. So one of the ways to stand out that's so important for whether you're established and a smaller mid-sized player or an up-and-coming platform, is really owning your own niche. You have to differentiate yourself. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, then you're going to get lost in the noise. So having the right content strategy means securing the content that fits your specific audience, not just blindly following everybody else. But the good news is, even in this crowded space, there is still ample room for new and smaller platforms. We just have to figure out how to do that. So here's some success of some very niche specific companies that have launched and done well over the years. Now, some of these you'll look and you'll be like, yeah, but these are still huge. Well, they started small at one point. Crunchyroll, for example, the anime focused, built an incredibly loyal subscriber base by deeply understanding and catering exclusively to anime fans, investing in tentpole anime licenses and a deep catalog of less extensive yet beloved titles. Basically, they own the anime space. There are other players who, have anime in their lineup, in their catalog, but when anime fans think of anime, they think Crunchyroll, and of course YouTube. Shudder, same thing. It's they produce their original series. They're great. They're not the highest quality movies in the world, but they are exactly what their fan base loves. And so because of that, they have a great reputation of giving the fans what they want and then having other content that they license to support around those original productions. Next is BritBox, which is very niche. It is exactly what it sounds like. If you guys haven't seen it, it just airs classic and modern British TV content, and it's really targeting the British expat community that lives internationally, as well as Anglophiles, people who just love British content. And so they know if they're looking for Dr. Foster or maybe old Doctor Who, if they have the license, that'd be probably the first place that they would look. Let's see, and then onto a newer platform that you may or may not have heard of in the sports content world is Lights Out to Sports TV, and they're pretty new, but their model is interesting, and we've been keeping our eyes on them and expect great things. They're an AVOD, so ad-supported streaming platform focused on combat and alternative sports. They produce their own MMA league that's sort of like a minor league MMA that feeds into the UFC. And so they'll stream that live, and then they license content to build around that in the sports world. They also do a lot around the NFL football and college football. And they've got a tailgating series that they produce that really super serves that fan base. That it's another fun way into that genre and that community. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. And then lastly is a fast channel, which All Rights actually produces and released a few short months ago. And it's already on over 24 platforms, including Samsung Plus TV, Samsung TV Plus. And what's unique about this one is true crime is obviously a very sought after genre, huge fans of it, but there's also a lot of content. So how do you find your place in that world? Well, our approach was, instead of telling the same old stories, dead person in the ditch, or all American centric stories, which happens to happen a lot in these types of shows. We instead took the approach of, let's find content that might be less known but equally as powerful. So we took Asian true crime stories and then also American and international true crime stories. So you all have episodes on the Yakuza and episodes on the mob and episodes on, some of these international organizations and chilling stories. That created filled a void. It became a niche. And so because of that, people thought, hey, that's interesting. We haven't seen that approach before. That's just an example of finding a new way in. Okay. The complexity of licensing. So this is where the fun is, right? Licensing, the actual legality of it, the deal making of it, Some people love it, most people do not. And there's so many, factors that go into this. It's important to sort of understand what it is. Um, so in each situation, you're going to have multiple rights at play. You're going to have the contracts and various parties involved. The rights holders are varying. Sometimes you're going to be working directly with the producers and the studios who produce and distribute these things, but a lot of times you'll go through distributors. And sometimes the different rights holders control different rights in different territories. So sometimes they have all the rights worldwide. And so navigating that and sort of understanding the rights that you need for your platform or your channel, and being targeted about how you use your budget to license that, and then who to talk to get those rights. That's one of the key aspects of what we're doing here. Also, exclusivity versus non-exclusivity. We'll get into that a little bit more. So knowing your rights, a very basic breakdown. This might be old news for some of you, but I just want to make sure everybody's clear on what we're talking about when we use some of this jargon. First of all, linear rights. Basically, it's content that's broadcast or streamed on a scheduled program. So it's scheduled. Like when you turn on a regular TV channel, that's going to be linear. Audience have to tune in at a specific time to watch specific content. Think broadcast networks. So SVOD, that's just subscription video on demand, meaning that there's a paywall that you have to subscribe and pay a fee. Usually it's going to be on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis to then access the content that's behind the paywall. AVOD, that's advertiser supported video on demand. It's what we were talking about before. So it's free to audiences. There's no paywall. You might have to register, but you're not going to have to pay a fee because they get their money via selling ad space, just like old school linear television. That said, it's still a VOD, right? So once you're in, you can watch the content as you like. It's not scheduled. Then hybrid, we're seeing a lot more of in recent years. I'm sure you guys have all encountered it. And there's varying ways that it can be approached, where there's an SVOD component and an AVOD component. Now, sometimes, as we see with like Netflix or Disney now, there's free tiers where you pay a higher price and you just pay the subscription fee, and there's no ads except maybe on certain select premium content, or for others there's other tiers you pay the subscription fee, but then you still have to watch the ads. So that's a combination of SVOD and AVOD. Typically in those scenarios, you're going to need the SVOD rights. A lot of times they'll sit side by side too. So you'll have the SVOD component and the AVOD. So maybe you can access the AVOD for free, but then pay additional to access the premium content behind that paywall. So in that instances, they would need the rights for both the AVOD and the SVOD, typically speaking. FAST, we talked about that. Free advertising supported television. Again, this is going to be free. It's exactly what it says, free to the general public and monetized through ads. FAST itself does not have a VOD component. It is just a channel. Oftentimes there will be, a VOD component of the content that's on the FAST channels. And so a lot of players will license both rights. And then lastly, not many people outside of iTunes and Google Play and Xbox do this, but transactional video on demand is another big right. And that is when you offer the opportunity to rent or to buy the content, one-time fee usually, and then they can consume that content on a rental or download to own basis. Some other terms, of course, there's territories. Every country in the world has a value. So that's something to really, take into account when you're looking at, where you're launching and what rights you're getting. Because if you're trying to buy worldwide rights, that's going to be way more expensive than if you just buy the specific territories that you're going to be active in. Exclusivity comes at a cost, but allows for true differentiation. So basically, just like buying worldwide, well, if you're going to try and be the only place that has this piece of content, whether it's for all rights or whether it's for your specific, if you're an SVOD platform, you only need those SVOD rights. But do you want them exclusively or not? If you take them exclusively, well, the rights holders are going to expect a higher fee, because by putting it only with you, that means that they're not going to then be able to monetize it with other parties for that right. Or if you take all the rights, then it's going to be even more expensive, because you're minimizing their ability to market and monetize that content otherwise. So in other words, the only revenue they're getting is from you, and they've got numbers to hit. So think about that when it comes time for exclusivity. So it might be even a mix. Maybe you might want some content that is absolutely exclusive. You can only get it here and use that for marketing. Whereas don't break the budget by trying to be exclusive for everything. None of even the big players do everything exclusive. And then term, how long are you licensing the rights for? So having, some flexibility in that, it could be really nice. Typically, deals are going to be anywhere from, the seasonal deals, which might be a few months, but usually the standards are going to be 1, 3, 5 years. And of course, the price tag will match the length of term that you want it. Again, particularly if you want something that's, 3 years exclusive for many rights versus let's do 1 year non-exclusive and for a select right. That's going to be two completely different price ranges. So just keep in mind, it's not about just acquiring the content, it's about acquiring the right content for your specific growth plan. Excuse me. So growth and adaptation. Keep in mind, it's important to have a vision, it's important to have a plan. But those plans can change over time. As the market dictates, as your needs dictate. If you try one direction and you think the model isn't quite working, it might be okay to try something else. So for example, an SVOD platform that adds or an AVOD offering or completely changes over to AVOD. Or an AVOD offering that eventually decides to add a paywall for all or some content as well and become that hybrid. Now, if you have both, if you have both an AVOD and an SVOD offering, whether it's side by side or whether it's stacked within, you're going to want to differentiate. So what does that mean? For example, if you started as an AVOD platform and your viewers got used to watching it for free, why do they have to pay for it now? What is the new value proposition warranting that change? So if they all of a sudden now have to pay a subscription fee, is the content better? Is it broader? Is it more deeply targeted at them? If they were paying for it without ads and now all of a sudden they have to watch ads, again, same question. Why? What is the value proposition to ensure that you're balancing out that pain point for them by giving them something, more? And then also for those of you who have this ability and or interest, adding a fast channel component. Again, just free content that's streaming there, that's pre-programmed, that can be monetized through ads. So adding those or removing them, if they're having to pay for it, then having that sincere dialogue with your clientele, with your viewers, and understanding that if you make things more expensive or more of a hassle to them, then you need to counterbalance that with giving them something of equal value. And then, a big point is as you evolve, and it's absolutely imperative that you are paying attention to the rights that you have. So if you've licensed just SVOD and now all of a sudden you're adding an AVOD component or changing into an AVOD platform, you have to go back and change that license or buy those rights. Because oftentimes it's not gonna, if you have content that's cleared for SVOD, they were available for SVOD, they may not be available for AVOD. That licensor may have already done a deal exclusively with someone else, or they have the right to decide whether or not to offer you the AVOD rights as well in that scenario. So that works sort of across the board with all the various rights. It's if you're going to exhibit for a specific right, you need to ensure that you have those rights cleared and paid for. Okay, so let's talk about big players versus small players a little bit. What are some of the advantages of the big players besides their obvious deep pockets and notoriety? Large platforms have direct relationships with distributors, studios, and content creators. So it makes it easier for them to either produce or license their own content, as we all know. Smaller and medium-sized platforms often struggle to negotiate these deals on their own. Just again, it's complex, and having the experts on hand, whether in biz dev or in your acquisitions departments, they've got a whole army of those people, so they know this in and out. So learning this is so key. So how can you beat them? How can you compete without outspending Disney? Well, you have to outsmart them. You have to own your niche and speak to the audience that you're targeting on a very deep and real manner. So solving licensing for challenges for small and medium enterprises and smart content buying. So next, we'll talk about some specific content strategies, basically, both for acquisitions and programming, and really targeting on sort of these smaller and mid-size SVOD and AVOD platforms. So the goal here is to maximize the impact and effectiveness of limited content budgets by deeply catering to a narrowly defined, loyal audience segment. You want to attract users through strategically selected tentpole original titles, then retain them with a robust slate of carefully curated niche content. It's what we were talking about before. But to do that, you need to really understand your audience. You need to know them inside and out. So identify your target audience clearly. The recommendation, again, is not to try and be everything to everybody at the outset, but start small and build from that. Go beyond broad demographics. Identify a clear niche. And there's some examples there, could be faith and family or sci-fi and genre enthusiasts, kids and animation, LGBTQ+. Find that segment that is being underserved or that you personally are a part of and know so well that you're passionate about it and you speak the same language as your audience, so you know what they're going to want. And if you don't, then find out. Use data, research, do the heavy lift there of really understanding the consuming habits of the target demographic that you're trying to reach. And it takes time, but you have to understand them on a very real basis and not just talk at them. And also, as part of that, have some direct community interaction, whether it's through the social medias, through your own platform, or just going and really reading and seeing what they're talking about and why, and learning that space. That'll give you an edge. Focusing on underutilized content that has strong audience appeal. So while there's a ton of content out there and everybody has sort of their favorites, if you look at, for example, if you go on to a number of the platforms, the Tubis, the Rokus, the Plutos, etc., a lot of them have a lot of the same content. So what is the content that out there that, whether it's the highest quality, biggest production value with the biggest names, or the lesser known but and underutilized, where that's going to give you a point of differentiation, particularly when coupled with some of the bigger titles? That's one strategy to potentially employ. Leveraging non-exclusive deals to maximize your budgets. Again, if you're going out and you're buying exclusive rights for your platform to 5 titles, and then you don't have anything else to keep people on, that may be less interesting to the audience than coming on and seeing that 1 or 2 titles, whether it's 1 or 2 titles that change a month, or 1 or 2 that then over time you grow and buy more exclusive rights. But then you need something to keep them there. You need, and even if it's the lesser known content and maybe not having the biggest names in it, but having something there that will, particularly if it's within a niche where they love specific type of content and it speaks to them, well, that's going to keep them on your site. And then a big piece of this too is staying fresh. You don't want your offering to languish over time and become a stale or be considered stale. So you want to keep a consistent rotation of content in there. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. One is very expensive, which is just continuing to add, and content which comes at a price. You're just adding to your budget, your acquisitions budget, or building in a rotation. We'll talk about that in a bit. So another point is think globally. So even if you are only a US focused platform, or only in select territories internationally, think of content that exists outside of Hollywood. There's a lot of great content out there. And so, indie content also, again, the sort of that lesser known. A lot of that, it tends to be more inclusive, which really speaks to the younger generations. And there, with the rise of international content on your major platforms such as Netflix with Squid Games and all the other, dark and Money Heist, etc., there's much more of an interest in that. So it may or may not be for your demographic. That's something that in your research you can find out, but it's important to flag that as something that you might want to consider and might want to look into. And then also mix and match. So I know some platforms are film only, and they're cinephiles. They're speaking to cinephiles, and that is just what you do. But even within that, it's important to consider a mix of film and series and documentaries and potentially even short form. Okay, so let's say that you're only focused on films. Well, there's content that could be quite interesting to cinephiles that are still purely in the film world, that could be documentaries about films, or tangential content that support the film world. So it doesn't have to be something not related, but you might consider that. So one of the issues that is important to note is the sort of the viewing experience when your audience is coming to view a movie. It's a 2-hour window at max usually, and then maybe they stay for another movie, or maybe they're gone. Maybe they only found that one movie and then they don't return. So that's one of the risks. But with series, if they like the series, then they're going to watch at least 8 hours if it's an 8-hour series. And then if you have multiple seasons, that one piece of IP will come back from, keep them coming back for more. Now, that said, the trade-off is it's going to be typically, depending on how popular the film is and how popular the series are, it'll typically be more expensive, because if it's 8 hours of a season, for example, then that's 8 hours of content you have to buy versus a 1-hour film, or a one film at potentially 2 hours. So all these things you kind of have to balance while you're strategizing and laying out your plans. But having a diversity of formats also will attract different types of viewers who have different viewing interests and habits, and also keep them engaged and have it feel fresh, that they can discover a mixture of content across different formats. Original content as marketing. Now, a lot of our partners employ this, and it's not just the big giant companies who have limitless budgets for producing big content. It's, the smaller startup AVOD, SVOD platforms too. A lot of them that we work with are people who produce their own series of varying budgets. Some of them are very small budget reality series, but they need content to license to build in around that, which is the whole purpose of their platform, is almost to promote their originals, but then they're using their originals to promote their platform. So that's one real cost-effective manner of getting exclusive content too, that then you can market and say, hey, we are the only ones that we're the only home for this. And if it's, again, super serving a specific niche audience who it's targeting because they will love this, then you stand the good chance of attracting them in and then keeping them in with more content that speaks exactly to that niche audience again. And then last but not least, of course, is seasonal and event content programming. Eventizing your program and original content launches. Having live events, if that's something that can be expensive, so that may or may not be for you, but those live events can be everything. For example, like the Lights Out Sports that has their sports content, their live MMA fights or whatever that is. But also you can do live interviews, or you can do live setups of whatever film you're about to launch, and eventize that. And then, of course, you've got the holidays, which really speaks to the seasonal content, not just Christmas, but the Halloween or Independence Day in any country. Your Black History Months, etc. Those are so simple to program to. Pretty much everybody does. So then it's about finding the content, maybe that's even a differentiator within that as a subgenre. Leveraging on world events and media events. It's great to stay topical. Piggybacking on others who are marketing the hot new adaptation that's going into a theatrical release that was made for $500 million. Well, who has the rights to the originals? Who has the rights to other adaptations, whether they're good or not? It's like that's a chance to do a little press and marketing on the back of the other company's marketing if they don't own all that IP outright. Shark Week's a fun example. Discovery just, made a week and said, this is the week we're showing shark content. And everyone else has hopped on the bandwagon since. So now everyone knows Shark Week. That's been going on for a good 30 years. But that's an example of sort of the homegrown, if there is an event, let's make one. Christmas in July. So Christmas, as we know, is no longer just around in December. It's no longer just after Halloween, but it's sort of whenever we want. And the last few years, a lot of the streaming platforms have decided that July is a really fun time because it's halfway through the year. People are kind of missing it. They're starting to think ahead of the holidays. And while it's sunny and hot outside up in North America, let's have it be ironic and show that heartwarming content around Christmas again. Celebrity birthdays, why not? If you've got some content that has a celeb in it, that can be just another sort of organic way to launch that. And maybe you're showing their older content that you can actually afford versus the big new first run with the studios. So thinking outside the box is really what we're talking about here, is have fun with it. This is an area that can be really challenging, but it can also be a lot of fun and be a way to really make a name for your platform. So another kind of diving deeper into sort of the mix of content. Again, if you're buying only the top titles, that can be incredibly expensive. So making sure that you have sort of a mixture of tiers, as we call them, where, tier ones are going to be your major blockbuster, films and having the big talent. That can be hard to find, and that can be hard to license. You're going to have to go directly to the big studios and their licensing team, and they expect a lot of money for those rights, and they typically want to deal with very established platforms. It's possible to do that, but it can be a challenge. And then sort of behind that is that second tier of content where recognizable names, good content, but it's going to be a little bit more cost effective than your big blockbusters. But it's good to mix those in. And then, of course, your tier three is going to be your niche, your international, your undiscovered content. This is going to be necessary. Sometimes it's as filler, like we said. It's you don't want to launch a platform, have them come and have only 3 titles on there. You need to keep them there somehow, or have them something to hunt through. So mixing those tiers is a good way to maximize the impact of your acquisitions budget. And then international territories. For any of you who are looking at launching internationally, whether you're in the US and looking to launch in UK or France or Southeast Asia or wherever it is, Latin America, or if you're international and you're looking to expand beyond your borders and reach into the US or Australia or Central America or whatever it is, there's some important things to note. The first is you really need to have an understanding of the local demographics, their actual tastes in content and viewing habits. It varies from country to country. So there's no sense spending all the money to launch in certain territories and get those rights if you don't have a deep understanding of who you're talking to. Uh, Understanding the local content regulations and laws, that's so important. It varies widely from country to country, and you don't want to launch something and then realize that you've stepped afoul of their laws and then get into hot water. In a lot of territories, so you need to understand their viewing habits, so you need to understand the localization needs. And that means, will they watch the content as it is? If it's, let's say it's from the US, UK, it's English language content, will they watch it as is, or does it need to be dubbed into their language? If it needs to be dubbed, how quality a dub will be necessary? Will they accept something that is, AI dubbed or done on the cheap, just that it's in the language they can kind of follow along, or like in France and Germany, where dubbing is a requirement if you're going to have content in there, the audience does not watch subtitled content, they want it dubbed, and it needs to be at a very high level, and it needs to feel like it's authentically French or German for it to hit. So those are the things that are important to note. And obviously there's a cost to localization in all ways. So that balances into the strategy and your budgets. You're going to have a more impactful time if you include content that's actually from the territory you're launching in. So as we've seen over the years, even the Netflixes and Amazons and all the other bigger players who launch in territories, they can't survive solely upon even their biggest Hollywood titles alone. They now produce content in those territories, understanding that to keep a local audience engaged, you need content that is of them, by them, for them. That is true across anything, unless you're like a Studio Ghibli, channel, or a specific sports channel for the NBA, or whatever that is hyper targeted to specific fans of a specific thing that is from a specific place. So BritBox, that's an example. But beyond that, unless you're that, it's important to have that content that is specific to your local audience. Licensing for specific territories, unless you have the budget to license worldwide, again, that's going to save you a lot of money. You might like to say, hey, you have worldwide rights, but it's important to kind of look at the cost effectiveness of that plan. Starting in select territories and growing beyond. All the big players sort of did this. No one really launched all around the world all at once for all the reasons I just outlined. So starting with a select territory or a few select territories, and then growing organically, and when you're ready, makes the most impact. And last but not least, technically speaking, I was really happy to see that during the poll, you guys seemed to point this out as the least of the concerns, and I'm assuming that's because you came here through Muvi. But as you know, the technical issues can be a huge hurdle. It can be very complicated. Having the right partner in place who can help you smoothly launch and keep the platform going, and add in ads or add in your marketing and bring in new content and have it be seamless for the viewer is so incredibly crucial. So that's why we were proud partners with Muvi, who are great at what they do. And with that in mind, thank you guys for your time. I hope that this was helpful in some way, and happy to pass it back to Richie and Aman.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. The presentation was really full of information and very well briefed. And I'm sure our audiences must have found it very helpful in understanding how content licensing actually works and how all rights can help with content acquisition and distribution. That was really nice, Tyler. So
Yeah,
now
thank you. And
over to,
actually, one thing that I
yeah,
forgot to say, Richie, is
yeah,
um, it's important to tie this back in really quickly to what we do at All Rights. And, we really help with sort of resolving a number of those issues and finding solutions to those problems. We have a business model called content as a service, which provides that flexibility that I was mentioning in terms of rotation. So ours is a SaaS-based model where it becomes a monthly subscription and allows you to maximize the effectiveness of your acquisitions budget because we build in a rotation of content. So we have, tiers of content, very, very well-known content to a little bit mid, and then some of your filler as well from content from all over the world. And basically what we do is we'll work with you to identify the number of hours and the rights you need for your content to license. We get our content in place, and then each month you're able to rotate through a certain amount of it at no additional charge. So, if anybody is looking for a place to come and find flexible solutions for your acquisitions and programming plans, then please feel free to come our way.
Thank you. Thank you again, Tyler, for giving that again a clear description about all rights. It's okay. Now over to you, Aman. You can actually share your insights on the partnership between Muvi and all rights and how it's beneficial for the streaming ecosystem.
Yeah, thanks, Richie. Thanks, Tyler, first of all, for all the insights that you shared in the webinar. And like Richie mentioned, Tyler is our guest speaker who is the expert in content licensing. Without taking much time, I'll speak about the partnership between Muvi and all rights and how this partnership can be leveraged by the ecosystem, folks in the streaming ecosystem. So yeah, so when it comes to the partnership, we being Muvi are the tech partners. Any customers, any brands looking to launch their streaming platforms, it could be a on-demand streaming platform or a live streaming platform with multiple monetization methods. It could be an SVOD, subscription video on demand, TVOD, transaction video on demand, or AVOD with ad monetization modules. So with all these modules, you can launch your streaming platform. And All Rights, of course, is our content licensing partner. So All Rights offer their content as a service to the customer to help them with content licensing across categories. Like Tyler has been mentioning, it could be for content in Hollywood, Bollywood, Arabic, content for educational content for kids. So multiple content offerings. So before we begin, we will take a quick poll and then we can continue further. We look forward to your responses to the poll. Few more seconds. Right now, as we can see, Hollywood films and TV shows is the largest content category that is required, followed by regional or local content, and then documentary and niche format as well, and then somewhat for the sports and live content as well. Yeah, thank you for sharing your responses. We will move further. So I'll quickly talk about how this partnership, I just spoke about the partnership, now how this partnership can be leveraged. So the partnership, if you are a Muvi customer already, so you are already using our streaming platform or tech stack to launch and manage your streaming platform. So what you can do is you can reach out to your account manager, or you can write to account management@muvi.com. You can also keep partners@muvi.com. That's where I get all the emails. You can mention the content that you require, and we will be able to connect you to the allrights team and help you with the content. And if you're not a customer yet, of course, we would love to have you as customers. But if you are not already, what you can do is you can write to sales@muvi.com. You can mention about the kind of content that you need, and also if you have any streaming requirements, you would want to launch your new streaming platform or migrate to streaming software. We would be happy to help you in those aspects as well. Yes, this is it from my side. Richie, I think we can move further to the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Aman. Uh, so now we can actually begin our Q&A session. So we have actually received a lot of queries, a lot of questions uh, in our Q&A box. If you haven't commented your questions, you can also comment it now. So there we go for our first question from William Dever. So he's asking, he has a library of 13,000 hours of content, and currently he is seeking distribution partners and also looking to acquire product for specific markets. Okay, so you can take this question, Tyler. Like you can answer this. He's actually looking
Yeah,
for, yeah.
absolutely, and that's certainly something we're always looking for content owners to bring new content onto our platform, our CaaS distribution opportunity, as well as some other monetization opportunities that we offer to our content suppliers. So would love to have a chat with you. Feel free to reach out. I believe my contact information is probably available somewhere, guys. Is that right?
Yes, Tyler. It's there. It's
Great.
there.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, please drop me a line, and I'd be happy to chat with you further.
Okay. So let's move to our next question. So this is from Salivadra Sa, and he's asking about TVOD. I think he is interested to know about the licensing processes for TVOD. Would you like to answer this, Tyler?
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last bit of that. The licensing
Uh,
process for what? TV movies?
TVOD, yeah, transactional video on
Oh,
demand
transactional video
platforms.
on
Yeah.
demand. Yeah, so you're going to need a partner who can help you, like Muvi, who can help sort of establish that sort of system on the back end and set your own pricing, et cetera. And really, that's just a different right that's specific, for the studios and the content owners that you work with. So it's going to be crucial to go, once you identify the content you want to offer, uh, you'll just have to go and license those rights. And frankly speaking, if it's known content, then it's going to be a mixed bag of whether or not that's available or whether or not those rights holders are going to want to work with someone else to handle their TVOD. A lot of times they do it directly through the Xboxes and Google Plays, et cetera. So, my recommendation would be is if you're approaching uh, uh, any rights holders with known content, whether it's very well known or even partially well known, but it's probably being monetized somewhere. Really having that plan in place of why they should trust working with you if you're new in particular, what your expectations are, what the platform is. Come to them with the offering. Rather than I've had people come before and just say, "Hey, we want TVOD rights for our new platform," and our question is on behalf of our content sellers is, well, what is your plan with it? How are you going to differentiate, from what's out there? And they don't have those answers, and so ultimately those deals don't make. So transactional tends to be much more scrutinized, even more so than AVOD and SVOD. So I hope that helps in some way.
Yeah, Tyler. So we have another question for you, and this is from Frank Podla. So he's asking, is licensing process typically different for non-profits and government organizations like schools, universities? and he's asking in terms of a broadcaster. So he just want to know the differences. Yeah, yeah, Tyler.
Yeah, so if we're talking about just schools and libraries, that's its own rights segment. I used to work at Disney Educational Productions, and actually, our entire business was revolved around creating content and then distributing content that was educational and built upon curriculum for schools and libraries, and it's the educational market rights, right? So it's non-theatrical is the right that you would be looking for. I believe that's still the case. But you would be that will come at a less expensive fee than your typical SVOD, AVOD, etc. And oftentimes, because it's so niche and specific, a lot of times it's easier to get those rights than others. But again, finding the distributor that has those rights, because sometimes a distribution company, if they're the middleman to the rights owners and the creators, sometimes they'll take that and sometimes not. So it's just finding who has those rights will be the challenge, and then making sure that budgetarily, you're able to make that work for you. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Also,
So
I
we,
would say too, territory comes into play. Is it just US or is it worldwide? So that'll have an impact in any right licensing situation.
okay. So we have another question for you, Tyler, and this is from Stewart. So he's asking, hi Tyler, can all rights help with finding original niche content for a market that is not being served in the US and internationally?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's one of our strong points. Is a lot of the content that's on our platform really speaks to niches and independent content and content from all over the world. So we'd be happy to dive in, talk to you, find out what it is you're looking for, and see if that's something that either we already have on our platform or know how to get it. We have a whole content team that does this sort of research and can go secure rights if we need.
Okay. Okay, again, there is another question for you, Tyler, and this is
Mhm.
from Brand. So he's asking, Tyler, you mentioned you would be open to have a discussion for submit titles for licensing with all rights. So he's asking, does this include shorts or feature-length films only you would consider?
We take content of all kinds. The one thing that I would note is we don't typically take like one-offs. So we usually will work with a slate of content versus one or two films. So if you have a volume of content that is available, then it would be worth talking about, and then we can kind of dig into what that content is, how likely it is that we have buyers that seek that sort of content.
Okay. So here goes the another question, and this is from Saj Shilwa. So he's asking what sort of niches you are actually providing, and he is interested to know, do you have health related technology, health related content?
Health related content. We do have a little. We have some health and natural healing, some yoga type content. I don't know how extensive the library is, but we can always look into that for you. And the way that we work is we'll have a conversation. I'll find out what your needs are, what rights you're looking for in territories, explain a little bit more in depth how our model works. And then we curate a collection of content for you from our library based on what's available and what you're looking for, and then present that to you. So then you can have a deeper understanding of, what we have that might work for you.
Okay. Also, we have a bunch of questions about like the cost to get films and series. Like what would be the price range for different kind of contents? Like most of our audiences are interested to know about the costing. Would you like to like share some insights, Tyler?
Yeah, so it's that generally involves a deeper conversation because there's so many variables. It'd be hard to just say, oh, between X and Y, that's what you're looking at, because it depends on the title, it depends on the rights, the term, the exclusivity, the territories, and then also sort of who the content supplier is as well. Like all of that comes into play. Some suppliers are going to be more eager to make a deal of any size, and others are going to be very careful about how much they make you pay. So in terms of, it's going to be more expensive. So I think it'd be tough for me to really like put numbers on that. Unfortunately, I hate to have a webinar and not give details, but that one is too complicated of a question just to start throwing out numbers.
Okay. So we had just one more question left, and this is from Praise. So he's asking, will he get a recorded version of this call so we
Richie, I'm
can?
sorry. Can I interrupt for a sec? Because I do want to. I want to add something to that.
Yeah, yeah, Tyler, sure.
So, I think.
Yeah, Tyler, like you want to add something?
Yeah, Richie, I think there is some network issue at Tyler's end. Let's give it a
Okay,
second.
sure, sure. So we have another question, and this is from Praise.
Tyler is back.
So,
Sorry, Richie. Tyler, we lost you for a bit. If you could come back again on
Oh,
what you
okay,
said.
that's weird. So sorry about that. I just wanted to add one little bit to that, which is, there's a couple of ways of approaching licensing, and so while I can't really say, oh, it's between this range, the two different styles might have flexibility. So one is that traditional where you're paying for a 1, 3, 5 year license or whatever that is. That's going to be in the, thousands to tens of thousands or more US dollars, per title for a deal like that. So with what we do, it becomes a monthly fee. It's going to be, dozens or sometimes hundreds of dollars per month. So it gives you that flexibility to rotate in and out of content that maybe isn't working, or instead of being stuck with it and just having to buy more. And when you add it up over time, a lot of times that tends to be there's going to be a cost savings by doing it that way. And beyond that, it just depends on the title, the tier, etc. So sorry to interrupt, but wanted to add that in.
yeah, it's okay, Tyler. Like, thank you for answering all the questions very patiently. That was really nice. Again, for this is for our audiences. Yes, we will be sharing the recording of this webinar to everyone, so there is nothing to worry about it. And we have another question, one last question, and this is from Mangesh Bhute. So he's asking, hi, can you please ask what what is the name of the rights called for acquiring content for a fast channel? So this is for Tyler. So he actually wants to know what's the name of the rights that's called for acquiring content for a fast channel. Is there any
Usually
name,
it's just
Tyler?
it's usually just a fast right. So free advertising and supported television. So we would put it as that into the definitions. Sometimes it's coupled with an AVOD right because it's still advertising. But typically it's fast because there's no VOD component of that. So that should be plenty for what you need.
Okay, thank you, Tyler.
Mhm.
Also, we have got another question, and I think this question is for Aman. So this question is for Danny, and he's asking, how does Muvi support on-demand content ingestion? Would you please answer this, Aman?
Yeah, sure, Richie. Thanks for that question. So when it comes to content demand ingestion, uh, Movie provides you a very powerful CMS, which can be used to upload content manually, as well as you can do bulk uploading when you leverage the CMS. Also, when it comes to organizing the content, what you can do is you can create multiple categories, you can create multiple playlists leveraging the CMS. Also, metadata can be managed. Metadata like title, description, genre, cast, all these can be managed very easily. And what you can also do is that you can publish your content immediately, or what you can do is you can schedule your content for a later time as well, later date and time as well.
Okay, Aman. So we got another question for you, and this is from Charles. So he's asking, what kind of content protection does Movie offer for premium or sensitive content, especially in markets with high piracy risks?
Sure. So that's a challenge for a lot of the customers. So when it comes to this, Movie offers a DRM technology, which prevents unauthorized playback or downloads, and it also disallows screen recording. Also, through geo blocking, what you can do is you can block all the content or any specific content in a country. Uh, Also, the content is protected through watermarking, which is again a very powerful anti-piracy feature for content leakage. So, by enabling all these features, Movie helps you in protecting your content.
Okay. Okay, Aman. Okay, so with that, we are actually concluding our session for the day. A very big thanks to Tyler and Aman for taking out time and being a part of this exclusive webinar. Thank you so much, both of you. As you know, Movie keeps conducting monthly webinars on interesting industry topics and showcases some of Movie's best offerings through webinars. So please keep a lookout on our social media channels and website for the upcoming webinar and events. With this, we will take a goodbye. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.